Hey everyone, and welcome back to Jungle School Young Ambassador Podcast, the podcast where we share the stories of the people and the planet. For today's episode, I'm your host, Ilya, and with me,
And I'm Balkis.
So before we go into the very last episode, which is episode 6 for the first series of Jungle School Young Ambassador Podcast, which is on episode 5, they have talked about the Mahmari tribe. They go into detail about the marriage, the cultures, and many more on the Mahmari tribe. So in the very last episode, so what do you think our episode will be? The topic of the episode.
So actually, Elia, for today's episode, we will be dive into the topic of the sustainable livelihood of orang Asli. So are you excited, Elia?
Of course, I'm very excited to share with you guys about the sustainable.
So what are we waiting for? Let's get started.
So with us, we have a very special guest. They are going to co-host with us, which is Maria Shafi and also Sister Aina from Jungle School Young Ambassador. So would you like to introduce yourself first? Maybe a little bit.
I will introduce. Okay. Alright, Assalamualaikum. My name is Shafi and I am one of the volunteers of the Jungle School Young Ambassadors. So I've been going on for like 2 months and so far it has been very, very exciting. So yeah. What about you?
Okay, it's like we've already introduced a lot in this series, but I'm gonna do it again, okay? So, hello everyone, I'm Aina Sohela and I'm the Creative Director of Jungle School Global Malaysia and also the CEO of TNT Studio and also the Director of the entire podcast series, the Jungle School Young Ambassador Podcast.
Yeah. Thank you for spending your time to actually be our co-host for this episode. So for your information, this is our last episode for the first series of Jungle School Gombak Podcast, which is episode 6. So, Balkis, what would you think the topic for today's, for the very last episode?
So for today's episode, we'll be diving into the sustainable livelihood of orang Asli. So you guys excited?
Yeah.
So, what we waiting for? Let's get started. So, as you all know, orang Asli live in a surrounding of the jungles, right? And it's very close related to the natures. And simple said that their way of life is actually powerful examples that what is really means to the life sustainably. So, not just surviving, they're also striving, right? While respecting the land. So,
Yeah, that's right, Balkis. So let's take an example. If me and you being stranded or have to live in the jungle, what would you think we would survive in the jungle?
yeah.
I don't think we would barely survive because
We're just too modern.
we lack of knowledge on how to live in a sustainable way in the jungle. Yeah. Are you agree with me?
Yeah,
Okay,
I do agree.
speaking about stranded, there was one time I was stranded.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In the jungle?
Yeah. It was during the time we were doing one of our Jungle School packages. I know how to go using the main road. I know using the main road, but I was like feeling a little bit adventurous at the time. So I went back from point A. I went back to my car because I need to pick up some stuff. And then teman last kali with the volunteer then. So, and then I was like confidently, I didn't know he was gonna go to the point B, Meja Kalau. So I was like, it's okay, he'll be here. So I just went back to the car and then go balik at point A and then I was like, wait, they're not there. How am I supposed to go? Sebab kalau nak jalan from main road, it's a bit further.
Jauh.
A bit lazy to go. Okay, let's just try going there. So I know we're gonna go to the Empangan. Point B is the Empangan. So point A is atas Empangan, point B is bawah Empangan. I also want to go kat bawah tu. So I thought, okay, kita just follow the river lah. Kan? Follow the river as they say.
So river is the
Meja
compass
kalau.
lah.
Sebab one of his teaching actually kita start we follow the river. Okay. You know how like Mahmuri back in the previous episode they were telling how they make the mask so that they can
This mask?
Yeah. Ni. They make the mask like this, looking like one of them so that people be like a part of them so they don't kacau people.
When we first arrived at the shopping mall, we thought the studio will be inside the mall. But actually, it's very far away. You need to walk out outside, and then it's literally like the beside of the shopping malls outside, like not inside.
Okay, so how do you differentiate different building and different building?
different building and
Different shape.
quite hard.
Different shape. I mean,
Different
yeah,
colour.
that
Different
makes
shape,
sense.
different
That makes
name.
sense.
Yeah, so it goes the same as the different color of brown and greens in
Oh,
the design.
now I get it. So basically, when we talk about sustainable lifestyles, it is not just about how they search for food, how they shelters, and also their medicine. It is about sustaining a way of life that have been passed from generation to generation for centuries.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like their DNA, their living DNA has been since like 60,000 years ago.
Yeah,
that's
Yeah, absolutely, Sister Ina. So, I mean, the relationship with the nature is built on the deep, ecological knowledge and, the spiritual respects and the sense of balance itself. So, alright, so move on. Let's start with one of the oldest practice that they mastered, which is hunting and gathering.
Yeah.
So, now I want to ask, Brother Shafi'i, have you ever tried hunting before?
Alright, so a little bit background about myself. I'm a Sabahan. I born from Kedingau, and personally, my parents take good care of me. So I didn't like have the privilege to like live in like go on hunting or anything. But back in my mother's days, they used to hunt a little bit like. Stocks, like for example, like fishes, for example. Like my background, I don't really learn about how like to hunt basically, but I've always wanted to like learn those kinds of things, because maybe one day we'll never know. For like our survival skills, we need to like use them, for example, to train ourselves to be like find stocks with it, to find food.
Yeah, right.
So yeah.
So
I can answer that.
yeah.
I do it in a very childly manner as I was a kid. And he told me that back in the day he's the type that would be indoor.
Yeah, I am a
I'm
very
like-
indoor person.
I'm like the opposite.
The
I'm so
outdoor
mischievous.
person, extrovert.
Okay, I even do it now. Okay. Hunting. I hunt for crickets.
Ah.
I tried to catch a squirrel, but of course I cannot. I tried to catch a bird, but it feels like a little bit kesian lah. They look just so cute, living their lives. So that's kesian. But there are times that because we live in the jungle, we beside Memandai. So there's a lot of birds that sometimes get injured, and we would nurse them back to health. So usually it is always me that I have to capture the cricket. So I will bring the small nets, in the evening before Maghrib. So that is the time the cricket's a bit more, what do you say? A bit letting and coming out, and also the, what do you say, the in between of sunset, day and night, confuses the animals a
But
bit.
during the dusk.
Yeah, during the dusk.
Yeah.
So usually orang Asli, when they use blowpipe,
Mhm.
this one, they like to shoot the monkeys during dusk.
Oh.
So that's the time that they're a bit more confused. The reason why they're more confused is because the spiritual entity
Oh.
comes out more during that time.
I
So
see.
yeah, so I like to
I thought it was like hunting stocks for food or something. Because back in the day, yeah, the technique is hunting. When I heard about your stories, it reminds me of like me back in the day when like going to sekolah agama basically. So back then, me and my friends would go to the back of the school. We would go hunting for grasshoppers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay, so
Celia, have you tried hunting, Celia?
Yeah, actually, I've also been hunting, but not cricket or grasshopper. I've been hunting dragonfly. Yeah, by using, this is a typical your childhood story. I think when we talk about hunting, mostly it happened during our childhood time, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So for the hunting with dragonfly, I use the racket, badminton racket. So when they're flying, right? So I used to like
mesti sakit ni.
so that to trap the firefly. But after that we lepaskan balik lah. So not that, keep it lah.
Yeah, so we all been tried hunting, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
Using hand, yeah.
In the end, we did try.
Yeah, we did
We did
try
try
the
It
hunting.
always has been in our blood.
Yeah. Alright. So today we don't talk about that kind of hunting. So
Oh.
today we into the hunting that using the traditional tools like blowpipes and the handcrafted traps. For example, the bubu. Can you pass me that bubu?
Not that.
Yes. Yeah, this is kind of bubu, but actually this should be the traps in this bubu. I've seen the bigger one.
The fish.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
fish, right?
yeah. This is for
So
the fish
what
traps.
I know about bubu is the size of the bubu depends on the size of the river.
Yeah.
Not the size of the fish.
No,
Oh.
the size of the river. So the deeper the river, the bigger is the bubu. So if we look back in the museum orang Asli, we can see the bubu is like around our height. Because back in the day, the river is much more healthier, the jungle is much more healthier, so the river is very, very big. And they just put it in a day and they can feed like the entire village.
Yeah.
So, I also think that how the orang Asli traditionals practice in hunting and gatherings is actually very fascinating because they got this amazing understanding of their local ecosystems, where they know exactly when a certain animal's breeding seasons and when is the best time to hunt without actually disrupting the balance of the nature. So basically, their practices is all based on a careful observation with respectful of nature's rhythms. So do you guys actually agree on or have you guys seen the orang Asli hunting before? The actual hunting.
Only the demonstration.
Demonstration.
Not the actual thing.
Ah.
But what happened?
Like seasons, like to hunt and like gather all the stuff they need for their family, and then it is like more than just enough for them to like to eat, you know. They're not like the kind of like people who like
Just hustle every day like us.
like hustle every day like us. For example, like modern days, we need to like work
Work
and
life
every
balance,
day.
work life
Yeah.
balance.
And then we forgot to like go to like leisure because in nature as well, they have their time to like leisure, go back and like just relax, you know.
That's why most of the orang Asli is chill. They're chill people.
know-
They're not stressed. Yes.
They're just so.
And they live up to very long time as well of their
They do.
age.
Understand. So that is about the hunting and gathering, right? So Balkis, would you mind to share on the second part of the traditional practice, which is on fishing?
Alright, so when it comes to
We
fishing, right?
mention a bit.
You said about we already talked about the bubu, right? So have you ever using this bubu, Sister Aina?
I mean, we did try with Papa. We did try with Mr. Kalam, a very small river. I think we got a very small
Small
one.
fish.
I understood. The interesting fact of how orang Asli actually in practicing the fishing. So what is even cooler is that they also know when certain fish are moving in the river.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, that skill, Major Kalam has that skill. He can know from the bubble.
Really? So basically, like they are reading the river like a book. Yeah.
Yes, and we will be like, so that Major Kalam can know if it's like catfish or tilapia or any other
They know
fish.
the
Just from
certain.
the bubble.
Right.
Like,
So basically now we just talk about the hunting and gathering and also the fishing. So that is on the traditional livelihood of practices that orang Asli have done and being that's their way of life. So actually let's conclude for the first segment on the traditional livelihood practices. First segment. So coming up next we will have a more interesting topic. So stay tuned guys. And that's all for this segment. Bye. So welcome back to for the last segment. Yeah, we are going to end this podcast. Okay. So we are going to talk about let's go to back to the basic, because we all know that the modern people they are kind of out of touch of the nature. Like
Yeah, right. So what can we learn from orang Asli that modern people should learn, right?
Yeah.
So
okay, so I think it's basically like interlinking with our previous segment. How we were talking about feedback and during our childhood, we're much more into the nature. But as we go and go studies indoor in the building, and also just focusing on hustling to get jobs, to get money basically. That's how we lose touch with the nature. So like for this segment, we want to focus on the solution, right? So the solution is already there. And Jungle School Gombak Malaysia is part of the solution, basically, because we have been mentioned by the UNESCO ESD, Prof. Charles Hopkins, as the best practice for indigenous basically empowerment in the entire world, in the earth. Basically. So the solution is already there. So what we are doing actually, which is like empowering, because orang asli are having like the same problem as the modern people nowadays as
They are
well.
trying to detach of their culture.
So because we are teaching them to get more into technology, but we forget to emphasize that we still have to respect nature.
And preserve their culture.
That is why the Jungle School of Malaysia, we're emphasizing on the modern people have to learn from the traditional people orang asli as well. That is our solution that has been improving a lot within like our 14 years. 14 years since 2011.
Yeah.
So the impact we see much more. Say 7 years later after the founding.
Yeah, so we see that we have to learn from Rasi to, creating the balance to coexist the nature, right? So we came back to basics. So other question is that now we cannot neglecting the development, right? So when we are also towards the development, so how can be done? So in your opinion, without overlook to sustain the nature and also care about the orang asli, we have to stop development or how?
Okay, so like in Malaysia, the recent post that I saw in Sinar Daily or something, they were mentioning how we have around 1,000 malls only in KL and in the entire country. 1,000. We're such a mall people.
Yeah.
Enough only to get that.
Just
Too many.
I mean, we're not that.
Yeah.
Somehow we have much more malls.
Yeah.
And then even like I saw like some other posts from other foreigners coming to Malaysia. They were saying Malaysia mall is crazy, looking so good, and people was like hyping about this, very good for our economy and stuff. But to me, I think that's not really like a good emphasis because it's just a mall in the end, you know. It's just all supporting what you see.
Consumerism. Yeah, a lot of like our modern people nowadays are really trying to find like what is like our basically like our peace, because nowadays people are very stressed about work. So therefore, in order to make them like leisure, like going back to
They have to go
relax,
to shopping
they
mall
have
and
to
shopping.
reserve to shopping.
We do in shopping halls.
Yes, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like, yeah, we may have to a bit stop with the development.
Not just not stop, like
We're slowing down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
trying to slow
Yeah.
down the
Um,
consumerism.
So like I think we should use the remaining building that we already have. The abandoned building, the very, very old building, we just have to revive. So like in terms of talking about the architectural, agriculture and interior, I think we just have to include all the necessity of plants.
And that shows the importance of actually the existence of orang asli. They are basically the guardian of the jungles and the nature. So if we fail to actually protect this culture and the orang asli itself, how we actually supposed to get the oxygens? Because through the developments, of course, we also will suffer the deforestation. And there will be basically trees, basically the main source of oxygen, right? So if without the orang asli having in charge or handling the preserving the jungle from actually going deforestation through the development, we actually will not have that sufficient supply of oxygen.
Exactly.
It's not just
yeah.
oxygen. It
It's
comes with
more
the
than
plants
that.
as well.
Yeah.
The food source where we get
Mm.
our food is the sea, is the trees. It's always from the jungle actually.
Yeah.
And then also the source of water.
Mm.
It's always from river, from mata air, and then
So,
hulu sungai.
Yeah,
Mm.
And then
it's important lah to
we go into the sea.
preserve also the river quality.
Yes.
Yeah, so avoid some river pollution that often happen in today's world. You can see from the news, many of the cases like river pollution, air pollution that actually very bad for our health.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like very crucial for us to go back to basics.
Yes,
Go back to basics. Exactly.
So like even like the most little thing we can do is give more awareness about the orang asli lifestyle, the living heritage, and also support the jungle school, what we are doing in jungle school Lembak Malaysia. So the reason why we make this podcast is counter that. Doing that. Give more awareness, we're doing with the marketing online campaign. This is basically the reason why we do this.
We want to actually encourage the audience that have seen all this podcast to actually take actions and connected with the nature back, right?
So I think parents out there, you guys have to try and encourage your kids to have more empathy towards like pets. Like either like let them have hamster or pets, and slowly let them play with the grass on the grounds and stuff. Like if they have allergy, we already have our antibody that's countering that since like we were a child. You guys wonder why Asians are more lactose intolerant.
Exactly.
What about the Western? Western, okay, back in the day, they have more cows than us. Right? So that's why we're much more like lactose intolerant. Because it wasn't like in our culture back in the day.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
until like we've been like colonized by the Western during years ago, maybe decades ago, that's why we're slowly starting to be okay with milk.
Exactly.
All those problems come because we not sustain the nature. So now, because how to measure the sustainability? Here comes the United Nations SDG, which they have set the kind of marker level to measure the sustainability by using the 5P, which is people, planet, prosperity, peace, and also partnerships.
Partnership, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is what we are doing. The Jungle School Young Ambassador partnership with the IIUN students from Passion.
Yeah.
All right. So
You want to say one of you?
to wrap this all up, I think we all can learn from this, and overall that we need to give to coexist with each other.
Yeah.
The modern people and the orang asli as well, and the orang asal. We need to sustain each other. We need to create balance and to coexist. Basically. Yeah.
So I think that is all for today's episode. To actually wrap up for our the sustainable livelihood of orang asli.
Do not worry, we
Yeah.
still have 2026
The
series.
second series.
It's gonna be next year.
Inshallah.
With their
Junior.
The
Yeah.
UIA1.
And continue our work.
Okay, so that's all.
Thank you, Sister Aina and Brother Shafi. And yeah,
Thank you to you guys as well.
Yeah, thank you for
You guys have
lovely
been
Thank you
so
too.
hard doing this.
Thank you. And also thank you to those who watching
Listening.
and listening to our podcast. So if you find this episode meaningful, do share with your families and friends. And don't forget to leave up a comment down below.
And
Yeah.
subscribe.
Subscribe, okay?
Okay, that's it.
That's all for us. Thank you. Bye.